Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you so much for joining me here. I hope you're having an amazing day. We're going to take a look here at GMT and see kind of what's going on. Big picture, best practice, the whole 9 yards there. And if you're new to the channel, not a financial advisor, just love teaching people how to trade. And I can tell you that I've been trading for a very long time and I've learned some things over the years. And my goal is to impart you with some some good best practice trading techniques, so to speak, and just understanding that trading is more than just technical analysis. That's why I have a trading academy and a community where I send out signals for every single trade that I take, basically sharing my trades with you so you know how to structure your trades effectively. I think that's the biggest focus point for a lot of newer traders is that they just kind of just jump in and jump out arbitrarily. You got to have a game plan. Specifically strategize every single trade before you take it. All right, anyways, that's kind of neither here nor there. CryptoCache.tech is the website, link in the description below. Take a look here at GMT. All right, let's start with the big picture. Normally I like to look at the moving averages in the 1 day time frame. But I don't have enough data for that because, of course, its ICO date, that, to the best of my knowledge, is March 9th, 2022. So we have about a month and a half almost of trading here. So, not terrible amount of data, but still fairly new in that sense where sometimes identifying patterns and different specific trends, it can be difficult to do that with this low amount of data. But on the same accord, you don't have to only have a large amount of data to be able to properly evaluate things. Okay. Anyways, that being said, here's kind of what we're looking at. First of all, RSI, of course, it's a 14-day RSI, so it's a little bit delayed. But in that sense here, it's always been above because of the simple fact that the price is consistently increasing. So we are back up above 70, so we can consider that to be a support level, no longer a resistance. In fact, I don't think it really was much of a resistance at all. And technically it was for about 3 or 4 days here, April 7th through the 10th, we could see the price couldn't pass that plane. So it's kind of getting stuck out here somewhere in the range of about 240. Today, obviously, it broke out, but generally speaking, we're above that level. So if we get the 1 day candlestick to close at its current point or higher, we'll have a close above 70 on the RSI, no longer working as a resistance, and likely we're going to start seeing some price discovery. Okay, and what I mean by that is just that, obviously the highest point here, $3.13, should likely get tested soon and then broken. And once it breaks, it'll establish itself as a support level and continue higher. We could even see a cup and handle type of pattern form too, because it is kind of forming that already. We've got the cup, we just need the handle. And ideally, we'd want to come up and test the all-time high and then reject, and then obviously fulfill this handle pattern. That's not ideal, don't get me wrong, that's not like the only potential option, but it would be preferred for that to happen. Because another case scenario too is where the price could come up here essentially and work this as a support level and then continue higher. That's also a very common occurrence. So whether or not that is established or this next key level Fibonacci retracement of 286 is also considered a support, that remains to be seen, but we have a nice cup handle so far, and I really like when things start off with this shape. Very, very good stuff here. So again, awesome in that regard. The MACD, again, not a lot of data here, of course, but it does look like it wants to shift upwards, which would imply that the price should continue higher, whereas the bears are losing that selling pressure. Okay. So again, just something to be mindful of. Looking at the 4 hour here, see a tremendous amount of volume, of course, in the last 4 hours. This candlestick's about to close, but generally speaking, we are looking at a pretty solid 4 hour time frame. We'll look at shorter time frames to identify, of course, big picture here and what that means for us, because that's a lot of volume in a short amount of time. But that essentially just implies that once the market opened today, we saw that shift in momentum, whereas this, the price kind of being where it's at, the weekend effectively pushed it down, and now it's pushed back up. So last night, price comes down, and today comes right back up. That's a really strong sign, a good sign of strength, and I think that's something to really acknowledge. Now we got to be careful too, though, because obviously this amount of volume, if it's unhealthy, we could see a massive correction, which we're kind of seeing here already so far, but we'll look at the 1 hour, kind of identify that. That being said, we are getting rejected by 70 on the RSI, which is perfect. I like to see this because on the 1 hour time frame, the 4 hour time frame, it's advantageous to keep the price under 70 on the RSI, because on the 1 day you can maintain that for much longer, but on the 4 hour it's kind of I wouldn't say problematic, but you can expect the price to turn around when it hits 70 on the RSI. It's a very common resistance level, which is again synonymous with this Fibonacci retracement of $2.86. Let's actually round up and say 87. 287 is essentially the key level resistance for now. So we may get a candlestick close below that, which is fine. But just know that is a point right now that it's testing and it's not willing to really go above just yet. All right. So again, not terrible, not great in that sense. The 4 hours kind of, I wouldn't say indecisive, but we've had a lot of push, a lot of momentum in this 1 4 hour candlestick. So we need it to kind of taper off and calm down so that standard deviation can kind of contract and stop working as a resistance. Okay. Once again, more volume breeds that, and we have a tremendous amount of volume here, so the standard deviation lines are technically higher. So it's a good sign in that sense. That's why I'm not super concerned with that. It just kind of feels like it's par for the course, and we've seen a lot more volume today so far than we have in the past couple of weeks. And that's a very good sign too. It shows that there's more buying pressure, less selling pressure, and essentially the price should continue to maintain its upward progression. We are making higher lows as well, and obviously something to acknowledge there. In that sense, the 4 hour is essentially pushing its way up. So we can go ahead and draw out a kind of a trend line here, kind of just give us a potential estimate there. So for future analysis, we can kind of understand, hey, if it can continue to maintain that trend line, we're in good shape. The trend is your friend. Okay, so that's the 4 hour time. Looking at the 1 hour, let's go ahead and double check this here. TD sequential. We're at a 6 right now, so we do have potential to increase further, but just keep in mind this was a significant increase, almost 33% from bottom to top. And the likelihood of a pullback is again high, which is what we're seeing here so far. How far can it pull back? Well, it can pull back quite far, but oftentimes, as long as we don't get a pullback lower than the most recent high, we're in good shape. So we're looking for a close above 260 today would be advantageous. Obviously, we want to see 270 or 280, but I'm just saying that 260 would be the lowest point we'd want to go in order to continue to maintain this trend and to not be like kind of hitting the reset button, if that makes sense. So again, we can continue these higher lows perfectly fine. We might even see the price, kind of go sideways for some time and eventually, break out to the upside because it wants to build more volume here. We could also see, and once again, this is just kind of a big picture scenario here. We could also see that cup and handle pattern come to fruition, whereas we got this here, and again, the price could do one of these. So we could very much see a price retrace all the way down to 270 and or 260, and then come back up again. I wouldn't be concerned if we saw that. That'd actually be perfectly fine. It'd be very healthy for the price to come down a little bit. So I wouldn't say get too worried about it. I would just be careful, adding to your position significantly right now. I would just maybe wait a little bit to see if this can taper off, or just consolidate more so at the support of 287. 287, and make sure that we get more volume accumulation moving forward. Because again, this is a pretty significant push up. It may retrace, and if it does, it'll bounce down to one of these two key levels, supports 260 or 270. Okay. So I'd say add to your position on the way down, dollar cost average, as I typically always recommend. It does look like this wants to break its all-time high, but it's just a little too early to tell. We need a little bit more time, and of course, maintain this amount of volume. If we can get this much volume here again, we're going to see some pretty amazing stuff. But again, it's kind of premature in that sense. I mean, we've got 4 hours worth of volume that is equivalent to a week's worth of trading. So it's all good. It's all well and good, right? But it's not phenomenal yet. But I do think we have tremendous potential. Speaking of tremendous potential, let's go ahead and see what a better case scenario would look like here for GMT. If we were to see the price, continue to maintain its trajectory, so to speak. All right. So best case scenario for GMT, to say in the immediate future, if we were to get a continuation here, we could see somewhere in the range of $3.98, and that could happen within the next 2 weeks. Okay. And what I'm saying and how I'm getting that is just a simple fact that we've seen an increase of 51% from bottom to top since April 7th. That's roughly 10 days worth of trading, maybe actually more so 11. 11 days worth of trading, we've seen a 50% increase. If we want to see that same amount of distance, that same amount of travel from its current high, it'll put us right around a 35% increase from here, upwards of about $4. Okay? That could happen in the next 10, 11 days. Will it happen? It's hard to say. The reason why is because we don't have enough trading data to really understand. We are going to be on price discovery potentially soon, and we need to acknowledge the fact that once we get there, anything could happen. Okay. And that being said, 10, 11 days from now, a price point of $4 is still very realistic. So again, I'm not telling you that's going to happen, but I can tell you there is potential. And you always want to look at both sides of the spectrum. And in fact, we didn't even look at the opposite or the inverse here, whereas you could kind of anticipate the price coming down. Keep in mind, if we lose a support level here at $2, there are definitely some other key level Fibonacci retracement lines that we could possibly see. So I would say, for now, it seems much more likely to increase based on this trend line and essentially the continuation that we're seeing higher. Increased volume, as long as we can continue to maintain higher volume, we get, again, this kind of volume here in the next few days, we're going to see some pretty amazing stuff. So again, all good stuff here, honestly, for GMT. The smaller time frames look very positive in the transition of a larger macro movement. So I do think that we're in good shape and we're going to see some pretty awesome stuff from GMT here soon. I'm excited to check it out. In fact, I'm going to try to make this more of a daily driver for a little while because I get a lot of requests on it recently, and I can totally see why. It seems kind of exciting. There's a lot of cool stuff here, and this kind of token essentially could very well take off. That being said, thank you so much for joining me here. I hope you learned something here today. Of course, if you want to become a better trader, CryptoCache.tech is the website. Link in the description below. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. Thanks again for your time. We'll see you soon.